Hello there, and welcome to the live stream. Great to see some folks here, and we've got Rich just chatting with Rich in the backstage area before. Hello, Rich. Hello again. And hey, Mark. Great to see you here as well. Been spending some time with Mark, obviously in the I say obviously to me and Mark in the Kajabi accelerator, which has been going on. We had these sort of live sessions for that a couple of weeks ago, and then we're having sort of weekly check-ins for the next for the rest of this quarter, really, to really get some traction with that. Glad you like the thumbnail there. I need to get a little bit more consistent with my styling and things like that, but glad you like it. So the point of this live stream, it's quite different to my normal ones. I was talking with Rich about this previously. Normally there is a topic that I have for each session, but this time I've decided that I'll just do a general Q&A. So any questions that you've got about anything that I normally cover on my channel, we're open to all of that. If you are watching this on the replay, hopefully there will be some value in here, and I'll try and go back and put timestamps in, because I always I always forget that as well. But given that there's going to be sort of a wide range of things, then that should hopefully help you find it. I should also say that if you are watching on the replay and you missed the opportunity to ask a question live, then you can always do that in the Discord as well. So go ahead and join that. It's free to join, takeonetech.io/family, and there you'll be able to join the Discord and then ask lots of questions. And if you don't know your way around Discord, don't worry, there's some helpful guys in there to help you. Hey, Jeremy, great to see you as well. And also Keely, of course. Yes, I had to wear my my Discord coach creator top. I'm feeling a little bit blue really today, not that way, but everything's blue, isn't it? I should probably have done a bit of contrast with the background there, but here we go. So hey there, great to, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, but hi to you too. Great to see you here. Is iPad support in the wind for the Rodecaster Duo? If you mean the and by the way, hi Wayne. If you mean iPad support as in using Rode Central on the iPad to control the to update or change things on the Rodecaster Duo, it's not possible at the moment, but you can certainly connect the Rodecaster Duo or the iPad to the Rodecaster Duo just over USB or Bluetooth, if you want to be able to control things, control your audio basically through the Rodecaster. So that is certainly possible. Hello, great to see you here. Thank you for this. You're very welcome. And what does select LUT mean in Ecamm Live picture settings? So a LUT, the LUT stands for lookup table, and it's something that you can use to apply some sort of color grading or a way for you to adjust your picture. And it's used all the time in photography and film, where you will have this particular thing. If you imagine like watching a film, and certain films have got like a particular cinematic look or a different appearance to them, that's done by applying some sort of color correction or color grading to the picture. So you can actually add a LUT in Ecamm by there's a thing that says select LUT, and you can create. You can either download these or create them, and then you add it in, and it's basically going to apply an effect. Now, I used to actually have one on here for a demo purpose, but I've not actually transferred it over to my new computer. So let me just see if I've actually still got it, because it's not something that I use, to be honest, but you can get some good effects. Let me just take one here. And what I'll do is, let me see if I can maybe, if I'm sharing my screen, I'm talking to myself now, because I've got my Ecamm window over on the other side. Let me just get this up though somewhere. Wait a minute. I will just do a quick demo of this because it will make a lot more sense. Okay, so if I go into Ecamm, and I'm going to just pull my thing across here, and I'll go into demo mode. My sorry if the screen's a little bit small. I should have been a bit better prepared for a demo. But I'm going to click on the select LUT here, and then I'm just going to go to this folder over here, and then I've got these different LUTs here, and I'm just going to click on open. And if you see here, my picture subtly changed there, and that's because I've now got this LUT applied. And as I move the slider, can you see how it's sort of, maybe if I come out of this mode, you should see how it's kind of changing the look on my camera. And so that's what it is. It's basically color correction, and so you can apply like a global color correction to your thing. And if I come in here and select a different one, let's try this one. Again, these are fairly subtle, but you can sort of see what it's doing. It's having some sort of effect, and there's all kinds of different effects. As I say, this one is actually a pretty subtle one, but you can get all sorts of ones. And so you can either, it's probably not something you're going to want to do necessarily, knowing you and what you do, but it's something that you can create your own. So in like Photoshop, you can take an image, you can, a still image of your camera, and then you can make a load of adjustments to have it how you want it, and then you can export that as a LUT and bring it into Ecamm that way. But as I say, it's perhaps not something that, knowing what you are using this for, that would be something that you might want to do. So with that said, let me just go back up and have a look at the questions. Hey, Vito, I'm glad glad to have your name up there so that I don't murder it. How does Streamer X stand off against AVerMedia and Elgato dedicated? Well, there's an interesting thing really, that Streamer X is kind of unique in that it is also a capture card as well. I personally like the onboard processing that there is on the Streamer X as well. And so there is, if you think about something like the Elgato, the Wave XLR, which is also an XLR input for a microphone, and then it goes into your computer. One of the things that's different about that is that the processing is still being handled by the computer. So the Wave XLR, the audio is going into that, and then it's been, as I say, whatever you do with the Elgato Wave software, that is where the processing is happening. What I like about the Streamer X is that the processing is basically being sort of programmed on board. So although you might well adjust things, in terms of, compression and all that kind of stuff, the audio processing, although you adjust it in the computer, it's being adjusted on the device itself. So that's another little subtle difference. And then it's got a capture card in. Now, it's funny, I actually asked Elgato about the idea of having something that was an audio, a combined Stream Deck with, microphone, but then potentially a capture card. Is that not something that they'd considered? And they gave me an interesting answer, really, which was that audio devices don't tend to move at quite the same pace as video, which is, obvious. If you think about people are using SM7B microphones that have essentially been around for decades at this point. Well, the video stuff's obviously moving at a lot quicker pace. And so, their thought process was, not wanting to combine a video and audio device if the video device, the video component was going to be out of date sooner. So I thought that was an interesting point to note, that the relative lifespan of audio versus video, if there is, if we move into, at the moment, the capture cards are 4K, but then, surely before long we'll be into 6, 8 and higher as a standard, which is still possible at the moment, but it's just not a standard. So that was just something to note, was the sort of integration of video with the audio component. But that said, I really love the Streamer X as an all-in-one device, and especially for people who are just wanting to level up their, online meetings in Zoom and things like that. It's got some really nice features, the ability to just mute and switch on and off your video just from the device itself, and control your presentation as an all-in-one solution for meetings in particular. I think it's awesome. And as for the AVerMedia, I actually tested the AVerMedia. I'm just looking at the name of it now because I forget. The AVerMedia Livestreamer Nexus. And now I tested that. It's got to be about 18 months ago now, actually. And at the time, I didn't like the sort of feel of the keys on it. I can actually just go and grab it. Just 1 second. It's literally just here. So this is the Livestreamer Nexus, and this is almost trying to be a combination. I say trying to be; it's not trying to be anything. It just happens to have some overlapping features of an audio interface, so you can plug your mic into it. But then also, in some ways, a little bit similar to a Stream Deck in that you've got these keys that can be programmed. One thing I didn't particularly like about, whoops, sorry, I've got two open mics here. How unprofessional. One thing I didn't particularly like about it was the feel of the actual keys themselves. Now, the other thing was that at the time, and I probably, he says, dropping everything, need to revisit this. But the software also I didn't feel was. Maybe it's better on a PC, but on a Mac, I felt that it didn't really have the same sort of polish as other software. But it was these keys in particular that I found these sort of travel on the key. When you're pressing on them, you could. They don't seem to sort of move down like in a uniform manner. So there was that point of view. The build quality of it is generally fine, but it was just those things about the keys just felt a little bit odd. There was also, interestingly, a question that was in the chat before I started streaming that disappeared. So I don't know if somebody had second thoughts and deleted it, but it was about another device, which was basically a Stream Deck alternative. And it was something I'd never heard of, and now the comments disappeared, so I can't find it. But the other thing that's kind of related to this is with the Streamer X, for example, versus the Stream Deck versus using something like this for the actions, is just the fact that Stream Deck for me is so kind of ubiquitous in its field that there are so many things that have got sort of integrations with it that keeping that all into in the Stream Deck ecosystem works well for me. So I don't know that I've entirely answered your question, because I feel like they're kind of different. They've all got their different unique sort of points and strengths, really. So with that said, let's see where we are. We've got a question from Keely. How do you handle the email sequence when people purchase courses or memberships? I know you use Kajabi, but how do you sequence the information? The honest answer is poorly. This is we can have a chat about this in one of our next sessions whenever those happen to occur. But the email sequence when somebody signs up to a course, that is very clear. They get an onboarding email. There is an email to give them access to the content. Like when somebody joins my academy, then at the Pro level, they get all the access to all the pre-recorded content, but at the premium level, we also have a weekly Q&A in there as well. And so there's another email that goes out following that. But one of the things that I need to honestly improve on is my overall email flow for not so much the courses, actually, but more so things like the lead magnets and so on. So there's no real sort of follow-up from those as such at the moment, apart from just delivering the thing. So we can have a chat about that, because it's on my list for this quarter, is to just basically get all those systems in place, because I also don't have a very good consistency across them either. So the experience is slightly different depending on the the particular lead magnet or document or whatever it is, free resource that people download. We can we can talk about that, but that's the answer, is not as well as I could. Hey, Paul, great to see you. Oh, so thanks for reminding me. The question that you had asked, sending over an email, that Paul was having an issue where in interview mode in Ecamm, when switching scenes with interview guests in, there was some sort of glitching going on where there would be a sort of a break in audio and or video. And I literally just went back and watched the video that you had sent, Paul, the little clip that you sent. And it's honestly not something that I'd experienced before. I have had issues with interview mode in Ecamm before, although that has predominantly been, of late, on the guest side. So where, the guest may not be seeing the picture, as well as it could be, or potentially, audio interruptions and things like that. But from my perspective, it's always been on the guest side rather than what's coming in. With the exception of, there was a point at beginning of last year, when they actually switched over the whole back end infrastructure to a different methodology, or a different server, or different provider, or whatever it was, and actually it went down considerably then, so that then there was incoming and outgoing issues, but they resolved that by basically reverting back to their old system. So I don't actually have an answer for what you've sent over the little clip, and I would definitely say to contact support and send that directly to them. So contact them through the the support thing in the email in the Ecamm menu. So just going up to Ecamm and then go up to help and contact support. Just do it that way. If you send that video over to them as well, it clearly shows the issue. So, but it's not something I've experienced or know how to fix. So that's 2 questions in a row I don't have a good answer for. But there we go. Hey, Marcus, great to see you here. I know you run Kajabi. For me, it's too expensive. I just need a Strike-compatible place to put a cheap video course on. Any suggestions, preferably without building it in WordPress and stuff? If you, are you on YouTube? Because there is an option in YouTube to like host it there, and if you, depending on the size of the channel, I know we've spoken before. I just can't remember the size of the channel, or if you have that. But if you've got monetization enabled, it is possible to create something in there that is available. So that would be a way to do it. Would be to sort of host it on there. Other than that, I'm just trying to think. The other one would be I'm I'm stumbling from the words here. I forget the name of it now. What's the place for it called now? It'll come to me. It'll probably come to me a little bit later. But there's another really popular platform that is escaping my mind now that is good for hosting those kind of things. And in terms of the hosting the video, that's actually always part of the issue. Is like, where do you host the video, even if it's on some other platform? And I used to use ClickFunnels, for example, before for sales funnels, and I'd have my website somewhere else. But the ClickFunnels would be used for sales funnels, but also course hosting, or rather, housing the course. But the hosting would still have to be done on another platform. And you can host the video content itself on YouTube, but then just make it available somewhere else. So you've basically got a whole series of unlisted videos on YouTube. The only thing to be conscious of with that is it's very easy. Anywhere where you've got a YouTube player, it's super easy to just go and find the source of that, and potentially just share out the links directly to the unlisted videos. Obviously, video on any site can be downloaded, but it's harder then to share, without sort of sharing the individual video files. I'll come back to this though, because there's a glaringly obvious name right in my face that I'm just stumbling on, which is for hosting this kind of stuff. So let's see. Hey Parker, great to see you here, and hello Phil, great to see you as well. Thank you very much. Happy 2024 to you. Hope everything's going great. Sorry. So how does Streamer X stand off against Ava Media or Elgato video capture solutions? I beg your pardon. Now, this is the issue with streaming, isn't it? It's you read something and then you read a bit further and you've already gone rambling on without seeing the follow-up part of it. How does Streamer X stand off against Ava Media and Elgato video capture solutions? Right. So video capture in particular, the Elgato capture solution is about to be updated. So I think it's the 1st of February. They're releasing a new capture card, and also I think a sort of one that's basically housed in a PC, so an actual physical card as opposed to just an external sort of dongle. So the Camlink 4K is the current solution that works with the Mac. They have got one that fits inside a PC tower or whatever, but that is not Mac compatible. I'm really hoping that the new ones that come out in a few days now, I'm hoping that the one that will actually fit into sort of an enclosure as a an actual card, I'm hoping that will have sort of multiple connections and will be compatible with a Mac, so that we can do that. Because one of the things that's on my upgrade list is the Blackmagic Quad 4K that allows you to plug in 4 cameras over HDMI and take it into your computer over one Thunderbolt. So this would be an alternative to that. In terms of the current ones, though, the Streamer X, the Camlink 4K, for example, and then the Ava Media, I've got all of those. And the Ava Media one, the only thing I've found with that is when I am trying to take my laptop, for example, into my other computer, so my Mac, I'm all Mac, the Ava Media won't actually allow me to do that because it gets caught out by Apple's DRM thing or whatever it is, the anti-copyright stuff they have. So if you take an HDMI out of your Mac and you try to plug it into something like a capture card, normally it will fail because Apple might think you're trying to, rip videos or whatever you might be playing through the iTunes or Apple Store or whatever. But the Ava Media doesn't seem to be able to get around that. So if I plug my Mac directly into the Ava Media, I get a thing come up saying, this is not supported. Whereas the Camlink and the Streamer X have no problem with that. Apart from that, I haven't really found any difference. Actually, I take that back. The Streamer X can be a little bit more sensitive sometimes to certain settings in the camera. So the Camlink, I've never had any problem. Elgato's Camlink plugging anything into it and it being shown. But there was a couple of instances with the Streamer X where I played around with certain settings in the camera and then it wouldn't recognize that. But I'm not sure entirely if that was potentially user error, but certainly that was something that came up. The Camlinks, though, one of the problems with that is that just to go through all of the potential issues with all of them, if you've got multiple Camlinks in, which can be a frustration, if you've got multiple Camlinks plugged in from Elgato, then the Mac doesn't assign a unique ID to them, or they don't have a unique ID that the Mac can assign. So what it means is if you're using Ecamm, for example, and I've got like my main cam here, but then I might have another cam over here, then if I switch my computer off and switch it on again, those may well flip round like in my scene. So one is in place of the other because the Mac doesn't really know which is which. I'm not sure if that's going to be something that might be resolved with the upcoming update as well. But that can be a bit of a frustration. I mean, Ecamm kind of solved that potential issue by creating placeholder cameras so that you can basically just have a camera A in your scene and a camera B. And then if you switch on and the cameras are switched around, you can basically just assign a different camera to that placeholder and it will update through all of your scenes. And that's specifically in Ecamm Live, which is the live production software that I use. Apologies for missing the actual question earlier, but that's my view on those. I mean, if somebody's talking about they want a capture device, I do always just recommend the Elgato, just because I haven't had the same issues with that as I have with the Ava Media, and the Streamer X is kind of specific because it is also an audio device as well. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, the little Q colon. And by the way, if you see people talking about this in a stream, like use a Q colon in front of your question. The point about that is that in my little chat box on the screen, if I just come into here for a second, it's because I can just click in here and type Q colon and basically filter for all of the questions. So just to explain why that is. So let me come down to where I am now. I've lost my place, of course. LUTs are really only useful when you're recording in log. Otherwise, they can be used to add an effect or filter look to your camera feed. Yeah, I mean, they are useful. I mean, I tell you who creates these would be JP Hightech. I know that he creates them for other people, and he's got a really distinct look that he applies to it. And it can be a great way to add, a certain cinematic look to your camera feed. So I know that there was a period where there would be these different creators who would maybe go on his show and be interviewed or whatever, and then a few weeks later, I'd see them on camera, and I think they've definitely got a JP look going on because it just has this, this different appearance to it. So yeah, they do have a use case specifically with Ecamm if you're trying to get a specific look going on. So consider using. So this is about the course platform. Consider using Stripe and your email campaign software to send a link to an unlisted YouTube video. Oh well, yeah, of course that was good. Yeah, don't overthink it, Alec. That would be a great way to do it. And yeah, so Keely's done a whole thing. That's another great solution. Has got a Discord community and then given permissions to the relevant channels in there. That works really well too. And then you've also got a whole community thing built into it. And Discord is, Discord's obviously a free platform to use as well. And if you need help setting that up, Discord coach is the one to go to. uh, so can you give a quick demo of the basic Streamer X? You know what? I actually don't have it plugged in. I disconnected it. I can't give it a full demo of it because it's, I'll show you where it is. It's actually, here we go. It's just down there. It's currently a lighting feature down there. So I haven't got it set up to do a full demo. That was, I probably should have those kind of things set up for these sessions, shouldn't I? So no, I haven't got it set up that I can do a demo of, you know, things plugged into it and so on. You believe Rode will add a screen in a next-gen Streamer X. Yeah, the thing about it that you've got to think is as well that the Streamer X is the first sort of foray into the world of video from Rode. So I'm quite sure that it is not their last. And so it was just, you know, their tentative steps into the world of video to combine with obviously their audio experience as well. And I use Outlook for Mac and wish to be able to see my Apple Calendar overlaying it like dual accounts work in Outlook. Is there a way to bring in the Apple Calendar? Let me just think about this. I use Outlook for Mac. I wish to be able to see my Apple Calendar overlaying it. So I'm just trying to think. If you've got multiple calendars, multiple different accounts, then most email programs, most calendar programs, so like Apple Calendar and Outlook, and you know I use BusyCal and Fantastical before that, but they should allow you to bring in, you know, your specific your other calendar. It's just a case of linking it to that account. The only thing is, I'm not sure about how to do that in iCal, but in there is definitely a way of doing it. I might have to get back to you on that one, Bill, because yeah, it's Outlook's not something I'm familiar with, but there will be a way to do it. Definitely, I'll have to get back to you on that one. Yeah, definitely pros and cons to everything. Indeed, there are. Alan Andrews, hello, great to see you here. Can you please explain your audio routing with the Duo? I'm having all kinds of issues where my Twitch won't play in game audio, just my chat channel when using Ecamm. Won't play in game audio, just my chat channel. The thing about this is, so when you are using the Rodecaster Duo, the Rodecaster Pro 2, or any of these, I actually, my favorite is the Rodecaster Duo, but I happen to have switched back to the Rodecaster Pro 2 for the time being because I've been doing some things with dual mics, or triple mics, I should say. So I needed that extra one. The thing to remember with the audio routing is that anytime you've got potential two-way audio going on, like Ecamm, where you're playing audio out of Ecamm, but you might have you know, audio going back into it as well. You want to stop the the potential for echo or slapback, and so for that you need to have mix minus on the channel the Ecamm's on. Now, most people are become aware of that when they're going through the setup process. So it means that any audio that's coming in from that source is not feeding back into it. Same when you're on Zoom, you have the mix minus on the Zoom channel so that the audio coming in doesn't just go straight back into Zoom. And the other thing then to remember is that if you have got multiple applications, like in your case, you know, Twitch or game audio and things like that, anything that does have two-way audio, they also need to be on separate channels as well, because the audio needs to pass into the Rodecaster and then pass through into that other down that other channel into that other, application, whatever it happens to be. Now, the thing that can catch people out, though, is they've maybe got mix minus on, but let's say you've got two channels. You might have one for Twitch. Maybe Twitch is on a particular channel. Maybe something else is on, something else. And you then have two things on the same channel. The mix minus removes everything that's coming in from that route from going back down, going back. So let's say you had Ecamm and Zoom on the same channel, for example. The Ecamm live audio and the Zoom audio would be coming into the Rodecaster, but all the Rodecaster knows is that that channel has got mix minus on, so whatever comes down it, don't send it back. So it would prevent the Ecamm audio from going into Zoom, and it prevents Zoom from going back into Ecamm. So that's why those need to be on separate channels. Now, what you're saying, just to having explained that, just to reread your question, can you please explain audio routing? I'm having all kinds of issues where my Twitch won't play in game audio, just my chat channel when using Ecamm. So if you're streaming to Twitch from Ecamm, then and you've presumably got your microphone on, and then you've got your game audio. It could be that if your game audio is on the same channel as Ecamm, that is being removed from the feed that's actually should be going into Ecamm. So let's say you've got Ecamm on your main stereo, for example, and then you have your whether your chat channel is just open with something else on, or whether that's used for your game audio, I'm not sure, or maybe game audio is coming from secondary. But just make sure that those are all on separate channels so that one can pass into the other. So just to explain, to answer your question though, what is my audio routing looking like? And let me do this the old school way. So I've got my Rodecaster. Imagine it's a Duo. It doesn't matter. It's the same principle. So I've got my mic here. You can see the level moving up and down. I've got my forget that. That's my second mic. But on the Duo, the second channel would be my Rodecaster main, and so that would be my Ecamm I have on that. Then the second channel is the secondary, the chat channel. That is what Discord is on. So at the moment, I've got microphone. Imagine this was a Duo. This would be my main for Ecamm. This would be for Discord. And then at the moment, this one is what I use for Zoom. So you see that those are on 3 separate channels, and it's orange for Ecamm, purple for Discord, and blue for Zoom. But they're on 3 separate channels. So with the Duo, this was totally my setup. Mic, Ecamm, chat for Discord, and Zoom on the secondary. Now, the buttons down at the bottom, I use those because technically you can set up all this audio routing so that, one thing can't pass through into another, for example. But the way that I do it is I have these buttons down at the bottom. I use these specifically because if you press the green button, that is the listen button. And that means that you are just listening to that one channel exclusively. So if I was to turn off all these green buttons and just press one of them, it means that, as the host on the, the primary headphones, I would be just listening to that one specific channel. Well, what you can do is you can actually listen to multiple channels. So I'm effectively listening to all of these channels. So you might think, well, what's the point of that? Well, it's because you've also got this other button here, which is mute. Now, when you mute the channel, it's going to stop it from going through into the main mix. But if you also have the listen button on, it means that you can hear it. So, for example, here I've got my mic is open. I'm listening to all the channels and the mic is not muted, hence you can hear me. My Ecamm channel is also open, not muted, but I can hear it. But I have muted my Zoom and the Discord channel. And that means that because at the moment the Discord is open, so there is audio going into Discord and I can hear anything that would be said in Discord. But because I've muted it here, it's not being passed through into the live stream. So that's how I have mine set up. And then what it means is, if I was wanting to bring somebody up from Discord, then I could just unmute here. Or I use this in like Zoom sessions. If I'm doing a Zoom workshop, for example, I want to have the Zoom participants not necessarily passing through into Ecamm if I'm recording the session, but then when it comes to a like Q&A or something like that, then I'll just unmute here so that I can bring people up onto screen in Ecamm from Zoom, and then the audio will pass through. So all of that, I don't know if I've actually answered your question, but that is my my audio routing. So let's see. So Paul is saying that his audio issue, or his issue, Ecamm support is looking at it. Yeah. Let me know. Let me know how it goes, and if you get a resolution to that, Paul. Hey, Dina, great to see you here. Is there a way to any way to turn on focus mode in using Stream Deck? I need a button to easily switch back and forth. There is a now let me just see. There isn't a button to switch. Let me just get this up. I'll show you where all the keyboard shortcuts are, because there is a whole load. I just want to check that there hasn't been anything added into to that. I've got a I don't know if you may well have already seen this or maybe not, but I do have a Stream Deck icon pack on my channel, and I'll only show it to you just to explain. Rich, I'm pretty sure that you've got this because I know you've done my my course, so it might be you might already have this. But in the where are we now? In the store, for the benefit of other folks as well, I'll drop a link to this as well. But if you go to my Stream Deck icons, then there is a Zoom icon pack, because there is a Zoom plugin for Stream Deck that has some predefined icons, but it doesn't have all of them. So it doesn't, for example, it's got leave meeting, join meeting, and things like that. But then these other ones that we've got in here are for like scrolling page and so on. But yeah, those are the only things that previously. And this one though is focus, as in bring Zoom to focus. There is that button there, but I'm not entirely sure that that's what you mean. But there is a button to bring the bring the Zoom window to the front at least, and that would be that one in the icon pack. I'll get back to you after about that though, because you should have access to this icon pack in any case. But for those that don't, it is available on my store. And basically, what I've done is in the Stream Deck software, there is an option. Let me just bring up my Stream Deck software. If I go to just a blank page here, there is a Zoom plugin, and in the Zoom plugin, you can go to here. So if you, in fact, it's one of the built-in ones. So if you go to the Zoom icon set here, the Zoom plugin, you've got mute, video share, focus, leave meeting, start cloud recording, and so on. So those are the actions that you can apply. But you can also go to custom shortcut here, and then basically what you need to do is, in this section, then you type in the shortcut from Zoom. So if I open up my Zoom window here, if I go into the Zoom settings, let me just get this out of the way, or maybe I'll move this over here. In the Zoom settings, if you go to keyboard shortcuts, it tells you the name of all the shortcuts for all the different things. I probably need to revisit this actually, because they may well have added new ones in. But all of these keyboard shortcuts are for Zoom. Now, the thing about these shortcuts is they only work if you are in Zoom itself. So most, if you press Command C, for example, for copy, then that applies whichever application you're in. It's not a global shortcut. Now, they do have this option within these shortcuts to make something a global shortcut. So here, I could enable this as a global shortcut, and then that is going to apply, even if Zoom isn't the frontmost app, because often when we're in Zoom, we might well be sharing a screen or something, and Zoom might not be the frontmost app or the most active app. I personally don't like to use these global shortcuts though, because it then kind of ties up that keystroke or key combination across your entire system. Now you can though program whatever the keyboard shortcut it tells you in here is. You can go into your Stream Deck app, Stream Deck app and your Zoom plugin, and you can add one of these custom shortcuts, and then you can add the keyboard shortcut down there to to trigger that thing in Zoom, even if it's not the frontmost app. So that's what this is useful for, because it means Zoom doesn't have to be the active app for it to be triggered. The only slight quirk about this is normally when you're entering keyboard shortcuts in any of these plugins, you press the actual shortcut, Command C, Command whatever it is. Here, you have to actually type it in the way that's shown. So you literally type out Shift plus Command plus A. And basically, that's what I've gone through and done with my Zoom icon pack. So as well as me creating the actual icons, I've also created the profile and saved the time of actually going through and programming those all manually. And so what you'll see is, if I come over to, I'll show you what this looks like in reality. If I go to my Zoom icon pack, I get it up here. And now I've changed my profile, so now I can't actually share that screen. I've just went to look for the button on my Stream Deck. So this is the icon pack, like if you download it. And basically what I've done is I've just gone through and manually added in all of the different shortcuts for all of these different things, and of course created the icons. But yeah, that focus one is one of the stock ones in that plugin in any case though. So So yeah, hope that answers the question. But maybe I'd misunderstood what you meant exactly by focus. Now let me just get back to my my main profile for a second, so that I'm not controlling the wrong thing. So where are we now? I've just lost my my place a little bit. Where are we? There we go. So yes, in short, Rich, let me know if that does answer the question. Hello, Calvin. Great to see you here. Will you let us know how you added the lightweight monitor on your Rodecaster VSROM? Yeah, sure. So that was a bit of a hack job, actually, as most of the things behind the facade are in this studio. So all kinds of things going on. Like this monitor, for example, is on a big a wheeled display stand. You know, like you get a big TV stand, for example. So I have it on that, so it's not attached to my my desk, so that me moving the desk doesn't shake the monitor and vice versa. And I've also got a load of stuff hung off the back of it. But I know that's not the one you were talking about. You were talking about this one over here. So let me come over to this one. The Rodecaster is mounted on a monitor arm. So that's the monitor arm there. And that's got a VESA mounting on the back. Now, I'll try and see if I can zoom in and show you what I've done. We should be able to zoom in a little bit more than this. So what I've got is there's this plate that's basically a metal plate underneath here, this thing, and it's a plate with a 90-degree bracket on it, and it's just something that I had actually off the monitor stand that this main monitor's on, and I just drilled holes the same size as the VESA mount underneath, so that basically I've got the VESA mount underneath here, and then this metal plate is sort of coming out of the back of it between that and the Rodecaster. So I just basically mounted that in between. That then has got this 90-degree arm, and then I've got one of these sort of articulating arms that you can get for mounting, lighting and things like that. And you can actually see how it's attached there, which is just a little strip of aluminium channel or aluminum, depending on your location. And I've basically screwed that into the back. So it's not a standard fitting. It's a bit of a hack job. And then I've got a quick release thing off here so that I can easily take it off. So yeah, but the effect of it is, I don't see all that going on behind when I'm looking at it. It just gives me this thing of the monitor basically being mounted up here. So that becomes then my kind of like my AV setup basically. Yeah, that's how I'm doing it. It's all a bit of a MacGyver hack job. Another one of those that I've got in my studio, by the way, don't want to zoom in on my head too much, is this one. And this was inspired by Mr. Camera Junkie, another guy in the Ecamm community. So that is an LED panel from Nanlite, but it's actually quite a small panel, and I wanted a diffuser on it with a grid. And although they make one, it wasn't available. I couldn't get it, so I actually just made that out of the the Coriflute stuff, the plastic stuff. So I made the sort of box behind it, and then that sort of grid on the front is also made out of that. So yeah, I'm all for the MacGyver approach to to hacking things together when we need to. So let's see where I'm up to. I'm currently on beta for the Rodecaster Duo. Is there a firmware update to bring those features as standard? Is there a new beta coming now with newer features? I'm just trying to think which features it was that I was talking about. If it is the ones about the and by the way, there was a recent update to Rodecaster firmware, which basically brought the main version up to date with the beta. So one of the things that was in the beta for a while now has been the ability to plug in USB cameras, Rode's own USB cameras, I should add, and that now is just a mainstream feature. In terms of the audio routing, the ability to sort of mute and unmute, or prevent audio from passing through from one to the other. That is already available. It's already possible. But what I don't like about the way that the audio routing, if this is what we're talking about, what is the fact that, let me just come to this a minute. If I go into the settings here, and then I go to outputs, and I go to the routing routing, however you want to say it, I could go into the USB chat channel, and here it says mix minus, but I could go into custom and I could actually create a custom mix where I specifically excluded things from the mix, and so on. Or I could have it that it was a different volume relatively. Now, I personally don't like the idea of having an input going through into particular channels that might well be at a different volume level than the other ones, because if you have them linked so that, if I move the fader up and down, there is a potential that either it's just completely not linked, so you're moving the fader down and then it's not actually having an effect on one of the channels. Or the other thing is you can make these so that they are sort of linked to one another, so that, okay, the audio passing through from the chat channel, for example, I want this mic volume, for example. Let's say that I want to have that just at a lower volume, for example. You can do that, but then what happens is when you move the fader up and down, it could potentially be, putting the volume on that channel down to 0 without you realizing it. So you've got to really be on the ball with understanding these relative levels. And the other thing is, because I want to be able to sort of change these things on the fly, I don't want to have to go into these settings every time. That's why I've just opted to use this process of using the mute and the listen buttons to just be able to quickly and easily, if I had a Zoom call coming in here now, I could just press this button and then the Zoom audio would be passing through into the live stream, and mute it again to stop it. So that's the way I do it. But there is no sort of no current beta out that does that at the moment. There is also some ability to do certain things with the smart pads. So if you go to one of the smart pads and were to tap on here, you've got some things for the mixer, so you can do the back channel. So if you wanted to have if you've got live, people live in studio, as it were, on these 4 different your 4 different mics or 2 different mic inputs, you can assign a button that when you press it, it opens up this back channel, which means that everybody in studio can hear you, but it doesn't get passed through into the live broadcast. So they've got those things in here. So it would be good if they did open this up to allow us to do more programming, so that I could just have a button that changes a whole set of routing rather than these just predefined ones. But yeah, at the moment, it's not something that is possible in the way that I'm doing it, at least. Thank you, Gumroad. That is exactly the question earlier about where to host a course. Gumroad was exactly the one that I was thinking about. Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for that. That is definitely the one. So let's see. Hope all's going well with your course creation, by the way. It's been great spending time with you over the past couple of weeks in the Kajabi Accelerator. Hey, Tanju. Hi, Alec. Regarding your audio and video setup, do you need to delay your mic output to align with your video signal? If yes, did you use the inbuilt Rodecaster Pro 2 feature to do this? I do. And the funny thing is, I'm actually just thinking that my audio is slightly out of sync now that you're saying that. So it's funny that. But I actually do that in Ecamm. The reason is that Ecamm is, my video is coming into that, and then there is a mic delay feature that you can add in so that it's in sync at the recording level. You can also, though, add in delay in the Rodecaster, but I just do it in Ecamm because then it's everything's been done through that then. So, but yeah, there is an option to add in mic delay in the Rodecaster as well. But yeah, I do it in Ecamm. And now that you mention it, I probably need to adjust it. Hello there, great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Is it possible that Elgato key lights are not compatible with newer Wi-Fi standards? To anyone that can answer this question. Now, that's interesting you say that, because I don't have Elgato key lights, but some of the folks in the Academy do. And there have been some issues with connecting them. I need to really just get a set myself and do some testing with it. But I don't know the answer, in short. But just to say that, yeah, you're not necessarily alone if you've got some issues with connecting them there. There could also be, there could also be some other things potentially interfering with them or something like that. But yeah, certainly I've known people to experience issues with their key lights. Thanks for popping that up. Yeah, you can definitely join the Discord. Oh, thanks for the link. Yeah, I have done a couple of walkthroughs, and yeah, I know Mark is just building out his updating his studio equipment. Actually, just bought one of these monitors as well. So this monitor that I use, he was asking about this in Discord and on our calls, and it's a monitor that I haven't really covered on my channel because it's not available in the US. It seems it's the Philips P438 slash something or other, and it depends on the location you are as to what comes after the slash. But for me, this monitor, I don't know why people don't go for this type of monitor more. It's 43 inches, but it's a regular aspect ratio, so 16:9. It's a 4K monitor, but it means that if you're doing stuff live widescreen and you want a nice wide thing, then you can do that down at the bottom. But if you're also working on documents that you want something vertical, then you can do that, or you can do any combination of that. And I've got this linked up to my Moom. So, for example, if I just open this up, I can basically just easily throw stuff up into any place on the screen. So if I click into here, I can move it around. So when I'm getting set up for work, I've got a load of different snapshots set up, but I'll also just open stuff up and put it in the places I want it to work with. But it seems like you're getting the best of everything, really, having this aspect ratio. And I never really got into the ultra wide monitors because it's fine if you've got a load of content spread out over a wide area, but if you want to look at like a document or whatever, then yeah, it's kind of it's not so great because they're generally not even as high as a regular monitor. There was a huge amount of buzz and excitement about the LG Dual Up, which was basically like two monitors, one above the other. Well, effectively, the Dual Up is half the width of this, so this is like having two Dual Ups next to each other. And this monitor it was only like effectively $400 or $480 equivalent of, and it's available in Australia, in Southeast Asia, but it doesn't seem to be available in the US, for example. And I don't know why, because it is awesome, and I've had it for 2 years and it's been faultless. And yeah, Mark's just added one to his setup as well, and I understand he's also suitably impressed with it. So. Can you resize a video in Ecamm so that it doesn't take up the full screen? Yeah, if you are so in Ecamm there are let me just up here for a second. I'll try and share. Is it going to share the right one? Right. So yeah, in Ecamm, you've got this thing across these buttons across the top, which are for either you want your scene source as camera, as a screen share, or as a video file. Now, I kind of think that these buttons up here are a little bit redundant these days because you can also add in cameras and screen shares by creating a blank scene and then adding them in as a camera overlay or a screen share overlay. So if you come into your scene, source, your scene source can either be a video, a screen share, a camera, or blank. And so there is no button up here for blank, but there probably should be if they're going to have these, or alternatively just lose these buttons altogether, because I don't personally use these at all. The only exception where there is this difference between what you can do as the scene source versus what you can do with the with overlays is video. And video, when you're dragging it into Ecamm, if it's an overlay, unless it is a WebM file, it doesn't have audio associated with it. So it's not really easy to add in an overlay with audio unless you go through the process of converting it, which, I think that would be, I don't know why I don't know what the difficulty is with that. Why is it we can't just not drag in a movie file and resize it and have it play with audio? I don't get the issue with that, but it is there. It is a limitation. So when you are bringing a video in full screen, which is like video screen source is video, then you've got this issue that, it is full screen. And I'm just wondering if I can just pull in any video and show you. There is a kind of way around this, which you might want to say, but it's a complete workaround, really. But if I just grab, I want to just find some little video that is not too massive to just pull in here to show you. And in fact, I know I'll go into my Ecamm assets and just bring in some little video from here. This is a background animation. So let me go into live demo mode again, and I'll just show you this with creating. I'm going to create a new scene. So it's just going to be a blank scene now. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag in some random, I've got some random backgrounds. Here you go. Why not this one? Okay, so now the scene source is this video. And as you can see, it's taking up the full screen and there's no way for me to change the size of it. However, what I can do is I can add in my picture in picture. Okay, now let me just keep that video moving so that it does appear that it is moving. So what we'll do when it gets to the end, let's just loop it. So now I've got my video and I've got my camera picture in picture. Now this is using the picture in picture feature. Let me try that again. The picture in picture feature, the PIP, as opposed to a camera overlay. But once you've got that in there, then you can do this thing here where you swap out the PIP for the video. So if I click that, now you see I've got my picture in the background and I've got the video there instead. So now I can resize that and put it everywhere else. But now you might say, oh, well, now I've got this big full screen camera in the background that I don't want. Well, then there is in the settings, and I've just got to remember where to find this. Let's see, it is in, where would it be? It's basically saying that we put overlays over the top of the background. Let's see where it is. Not that one. No, it's not that one. Let's see, recording. Video, must be video. Here we go. This one, show picture in picture above overlays. So if I click that one now, show picture in picture above overlays, and now what I could do is I could go and get any overlay that I wanted. So I'm just going to take my background one and actually just duplicate this. And then I'm going to move it into this scene. So you see that now I've got an overlay in that scene. And I've effectively now got this video that I can play anywhere and I can place it anywhere. And I've just got an overlay that is basically covering up my camera behind it. And then from there, I could, if I wanted, have that video playing. And then I could go and add in, another camera overlay if I wanted. So that is actually an overlay now. I could resize that and I could put that wherever I wanted in the scene. So that's kind of like a little hack of how to do it. I mean, it should really be easier than that. I wish they would just make it so that you could just drag in a video and have it play with audio. Wouldn't that be better? And then, by the way, if ever you wanted to then, if you're doing something where you needed to switch these videos out, then you could just go to source, video file, and then you could just choose a new one. So if I wanted to change that video, I could easily just go and switch that out. So at the moment, and that means that any video file you've got would then play and the audio would come through. Because as I say, if you just drag the video file directly in as an overlay, unless it's a certain type of file, the audio won't play. So hope that answers the question. So this was the other one. Can you reset? Oh, that was the that was the one that I just did, wasn't it? So there we go. If you add it as an overlay, then you lose the sound. So that's the only thing. I want to lower my my mic volume that goes into my headphones, and I'm using my Rodecaster Pro 2. How do I do that? So on the by the way, the Rodecaster is such an awesome piece of equipment, and it's so powerful. But it sort of belies the complexity underneath it. The ease of use of it, I should say, or the accessibility. It's a sort of an off-the-shelf item almost, but it belies the complexity that's going on in it. The other thing going on within it, and the other thing about it is audio is out of everything, to do with live streaming and video and all that kind of stuff. The camera and the video is actually the part that is the least troublesome. People who book consultations with me, audio is like 90% of them, because there are so many places that we can get caught out with audio, and I know a lot of the answers because I've made all the mistakes myself. So, little things like, oh, I can't hear audio in my headphones, and people are tracing these things, trying to check their audio, and then, it turns out I've inadvertently got up to go and walk away. I've unclipped the headphones from my my thing, and then it's not plugged in. I've got the headphones in, they're not physically connected because I'd walked away for a moment and come back. Yeah, all of these stupid mistakes, I've made them all. So when I get on calls with people, they sometimes say like, "Oh, that seems such a simple thing," but trust me, everybody does it. But anyway, I digress. The question you had, just to say that the audio is the most complex aspect of all of this. If you want to lower the volume that goes into your headphones and you're using your Rodecaster Pro 2, the faders here are affecting the audio level of all of the individual things. So like your microphone, your computer, or whatever you've got assigned to these different faders. These dials at the top are affecting the volume in your headphones. So if my headphones are plugged into headphone 1, if I turn that down now, I'm not hearing myself. If I turn it up, then I'm hearing myself more. Now, what some people want to do, though, is they don't want to adjust the volume of everything in their headphones, which I understand, but they also don't want to adjust, obviously, the volume of their microphone, going out into the stream or whatever as well. So they don't want to adjust it at that level. They just literally don't want to hear themselves back. Now, if that's the case, what you can do is you can hit the little symbol there. You can go into the outputs and then go into the routing section, and then you would tap on headphones 1. Now, at the moment, it says main mix. That means that in your headphones, you're hearing whatever is going out into the mix. So it means that whatever levels you set for all of the different inputs on here is what you're going to be hearing them. And the actual volume that you're going to be hearing that at is whatever you've set this to. So I turn that down now. It's gone down in my ears, but you're still hearing it because it's just specific to me. However, if you feel like, well, I just don't want to hear my own voice back, because I know that some people don't like to hear that, you can just go into the custom setting here, and you could literally just exclude your microphone. So you could press the little microphone thing there to exclude it, and that means that headphones 1, you're not going to be hearing your microphone back. So that would be a way to do that. Or the other thing you could do in there as well is you could actually just rather than remove it completely, if you tap that to just sort of break that connection and turn it down, tap on the right one, you could then just sort of reduce the level that's coming into your headphones slightly, rather than exclude it completely. Only thing to be aware of with that is it is best if you are, well, depending on your use case, if you are sort of monitoring what's going on. That's obviously the point of having the headphones and sort of listening, is that you are monitoring the mix. You're monitoring everything that is going on. But those are a few ways that you could adjust the level that you're hearing in your headphones. So yeah. There we go. What is your opinion about using the Rode Wireless Pro transmitter with the Caster Duo as a wireless instead of XLR condenser one? It works great, actually. That's when I said that I switched back to my Rodecaster Pro from the Duo. It's because I wanted to have permanently connected a wireless mic for instances when I use that. But I've also got another mic over here for some other content that I'm doing, which is basically a different scene, kind of against that wall over there. So that's for another recording instance. So now I have got basically 3 mics attached to the two XLR and a wireless attached. But the Rode Wireless Pro is really great. If you buy the Rode Wireless Pro, you also get with it the Rode Lavalier 2, their lav mic, which is this one. And it's a bit different to their original Rode Lavalier mic, which had the capture was basically sort of pointing upwards, whereas this has got the small little condenser mic in there, and it's sort of facing outwards. Now, the mic in the Rode wireless systems, so as in the sort of inbuilt mic that you've got in the top of them, if I take the little dead cat off there, so the mic that is in there is the same across all of the wireless range. The difference is what you've got in terms of the processing in the wireless mics. And it's also the same as their previous, or the other Rode wireless, Rode Lavalier mic. The Rode Lavalier 2, though, has got an updated capsule, and you'll find that that has got, you know, slightly more depth to it. So if ever I'm using the wireless with the Rodecaster, then I'm going to be using the lav mic with it. So that one is what I'll use with the wireless. The only thing is, there's a few considerations here. So the question you asked was, you know, what's my view on using the lav versus the condenser, the XLR mic. Where possible, you know, always use a wired mic. That's what I'd say, you know, because you're always going to have that potential for failure on anything wireless. The other thing is batteries. You know, the Rode wireless mic is on batteries, so that's something to be consider as well. Now with the lav mic though, one thing about this one, and I know you're asking about wireless rather than lav, but with this lavalier mic, for those using the Duo, you can just get a dongle for this because it's a TRS connector. But if you just get the little converter to convert that into TRRS, you can plug this directly into the little headphone headset jack on the front of the Duo. You can also plug it into the headset jack on the back of the Streamer X. So if you want to use a lav mic with the Streamer X or the Duo, it's actually really easy without the wireless component. I do like the fact that the wireless system does just pair directly with the Rodecaster, all of them, the Rodecaster Pro 2, the Rodecaster Duo, and also the Streamer X as well. So that is a nice touch. But yeah, it just comes down to personal preference, really. I know that folks don't always like having, I don't mind having the microphone in shot, but you know, as soon as you put it away, then you're sort of losing that clarity. But yeah, to be able to use a lav mic, you're still going to get better sound off a lav mic here than you will off a broadcast mic over on the other side of the room, for example. So yeah, I use this when I don't want to have a mic in shot for some things that I do. So yeah, that's what I think about that. So where are we? Hey Marcus, yeah, so many buttons. Well, I mean, actually though, this is a point as well to sort of make, is that yeah, there's quite a lot going on here, but at the same time, I have added things in incrementally. So it didn't start out like this. In fact, if I just show you my studio, I guess this was 2 years ago that I moved into this studio space itself. Let's see if I've got this up still. I might still, there you go. So that is this is the same studio space 2 years ago. And as you can see, what I started with was this same microphone, the Shure MV7, and one Stream Deck. There's also a loop deck, which was another device that's on my, I call it the doorstop, I would say affectionately, but definitely not affectionately. So the loop deck is a device that I also tried out. Great hardware, but the software just let it down terribly, I felt. I know other people think differently, but I felt there was some critical flaws in its function. But I liked the loop deck because it had the dials on it. So as soon as the Stream Deck Plus came out, and the Stream Deck Plus is this one down here that's got these little dials on it. As soon as that came out, the loop deck sort of was retired out of service. But in order to do everything that I'm doing now, you know, the microphone is the most important thing. The Stream Deck, to have clear audio on your calls and in your content or whatever. The Stream Deck is just, I bought the Stream Deck because I wanted it for switching scenes in Ecamm, and that was kind of it. I soon realized what an amazing productivity tool it was. So I recommend everybody buy a Stream Deck, whether you are a streamer or not. The name should be, Productivity Deck, really, because it is just an awesome tool. The other thing there was the same monitor I've got now. Actually, that monitor, on the top of that monitor is my old teleprompter. I have got a larger teleprompter now. That would be another bit of tech that if you are doing Zoom meetings, to be able to have eye contact, like I'm talking to you now and I'm literally looking through the screen, that's because when I'm looking into there, I'm actually looking at my output. But if this was a Zoom meeting, I would be looking at the Zoom participants there. So yeah, having a teleprompter makes all the difference. But I would say that just those three tools, the microphone, the Stream Deck, and the teleprompter, were a game changer for my online meetings and interactions. The camera that was behind that teleprompter was actually my, whatever it is now, 12, 13-year-old Canon EOS 60D. So that was a old technology camera coming out over USB, giving me 720 out the majority of videos on my channel were actually from that camera. So 720 into Ecamm. Ecamm was upscaling it to 1080. So the camera isn't as important, but just the Stream Deck microphone and a teleprompter. And now that Elgato have got their own prompter out, then it's just a no-brainer. So when you look at setups that have got a lot more stuff going on, it's not all a requirement to actually do this stuff. What I've added in though are things as I've had a need for it. So the Stream Deck XL over here, then I added in the Stream Deck Plus because of the dials, and I wanted to have that functionality that enables me to control things in Ecamm. It enables me to control things like, brush size in Photoshop, those kind of things, incremental adjustments. But then when I added a second Stream Deck was when I was doing things in a live situation where I was potentially having to switch streams on the main Stream Deck, switch pages, I should say. Because one of the benefits of a Stream Deck is building up this muscle memory so that I know that if I want to go to this shot, I just reach down here. I don't have to physically look down here to know that if I want to go back to my main scene, I just got to sort of feel around for where the button is and I can go back to that scene. So it allows me to have that. As soon as you introduce the idea of switching pages during a live event in Stream Deck, suddenly then you're looking down all the time because you have to make sure you're on the right page. So I personally added in a second Stream Deck XL to my setup when I needed more actions than 32 in a single given live scenario, like a workshop or a live stream or whatever. So for example, at the moment I've got all my scenes over here, my overlays, but then on this other screen then I've got things like like calls to action, like this one, go to check out my my store or whatever, or that kind of thing. So I have those on this one, and it means that I've got all of my core controls over on this Stream Deck, and all the additional stuff is over here. So typically, when I'm doing a webinar or a workshop, then I'll still have this core items on here, but all of the stuff specific to the workshop will be over on this one. And I've also got a couple of pedals down on the floor that are for specific things as well. But all of that is to say, to your point, there is a lot of stuff going on there, but it's it's all been sort of intentional in the way that I've added it all in. So let me just see where I was up to. Hey Neil, great to see you here. I haven't watched your. I know that you did the Ecamm demo today, and I didn't see it. I've just got up myself for my live stream, but I'll go back and watch it. I hope all went well for that. So yeah, that's about the thing. So you need to convert it to, and I've got a video on my channel, by the way, about converting to WebEms. But yeah, that solution about switching them around is the way to do it without doing the WebM route. Thanks, Keely. I'm just catching up with all these. I see that you've been busy posting links. I appreciate that. How do I remove or lower my mic, what I'm hearing in my monitors or headphones? My mic is loud in my headphones. I want to remove it completely or lower it. So that is the one that I did show earlier as well. I think somebody else asked that, but I did answer that one, I think. Now there, let me see if I can find the link. Just bear with me 1 second, because there is somebody who is working on that, called Martin McKenna. But I just want to go through and grab a link to something, because, and I've got to confess, I haven't actually been back and watched this because it was sent to me just a while ago. But it was a case of go and check out this hour-long live stream, and I just thought, I haven't actually got time for an hour-long live stream to just sort of drop it with that. But what I'll do is I'll copy this link and then I'll paste it in, because and this was a live stream with Neil. So over on Neil's channel, and Martin was on there. And as I say, I've not actually watched this myself yet, but he was on Martin's channel talking about this, creating scenes and packaging them up for folks. So I've just dropped that into the chat. And by the way, I think that this is something Ecamm are thinking about. You know, a way for when you come into Ecamm for the first time, the software, you're basically just presented with, you know, default scene, and it's your camera, and it's kind of like, right, okay, what do I do now? You know, to be able to have some predefined templates would be really useful. I've always avoided doing these kind of things, and people have asked me for them before, because what I know is that everybody's use case is so specific, that it's hard to find a one size fits all. Then if you think, well, there could be some just general layouts, you know, like a main scene, a screen share and things like that. You've still got to then go through all the sort of education process of how to set those up, because, you know, they might be screen sharing, but what are they screen sharing? What is their camera, you know, set to, and so on. And so I've always taken the approach that, you know, I can get on a call with somebody and talk them through, you know, and in, you know, an hour coaching call. This isn't supposed to be an ad, by the way, but since I'm talking about it, if you do want help with this kind of stuff, not you specifically, Mark, I know you know your way around more than well. But yeah, you know, people will get on a coaching call with me, and in an hour, we can go from, right, I've just opened the Ecamm, what do I do? And I've got my Stream Deck with nothing on it. Within an hour, you can be set up and running to be using your Ecamm with a few different scenes set up, going into Zoom to be delivering your online presentations and webinars and things like that, all controlled through Stream Deck. So I can talk somebody through that in an hour. Whereas, yeah, it's just a bit tricky to create templates that cater to everyone. And people have also asked me for, you know, like overlay templates as well. So just one second, let me just see. Just sorry, Jeremy, I think you've got some slapback going on. You've got your audio on your Rodecaster is feeding back into Discord. So I'm just going to mute you for a second. Sorry, that's in the back channel. Let me just do that. I should just mute him. There we go. That solved that problem. Yeah. So the one of the reasons why I haven't created those just sort of default templates and things like that is also because of that. Everybody's things are different. So let me check. Thanks for. I see mine is perfectly synced. That's funny. It's funny because when you said about my how do I sync my audio, and then suddenly now I look at it, it's like it actually looks a little bit out of sync to me. There we go. You don't see any video overlay in Ecamm. So that is, let me just come back over here. And what I'll do is I'll share this window because this is a bit bigger. You might find it easier to see here. If you go into the overlays window, it's because it's called an animated overlay, new animated overlay. And so if you click that one, then it's going to ask you to pick a video file to put in. And it's called animated overlay because they are, you know, they're using them for animations rather than as for videos, I guess, you know, partly because of that limitation with those. So yeah, but that's where it is. Incidentally, if you just drag and drop a video file into Ecamm, it will usually ask, you know, do you want this to become the scene source, or do you want it to become, or is it an animated overlay? So yeah. Is there a reason why you went back to the Shure mic from the Rode Pod mic? Do you know what? It was literally, I just moved things around in my studio and the Pod mic is here. So I've got another kind of setup that I'm going to be working on some stuff for, which is basically, it's going to be with a different camera, but it's going to be kind of like over here. So I've got a different scene setup and then this mic will be over here. So it wasn't a case, I actually think that the Pod mic and the Shure, I'm not really like an audiophile in the way that some people are. You know, some people are listening for these minute differences. And I was having a talk about this in the one of the Academy Q&As just yesterday, day before, Thursdays for me. And yeah, we were talking about this. And you know, you see people doing these demos of mics where they've got, you know, one next to the other. Well, let me do it. Having said that, I don't do these things. Let me do it. So here is the Shure MV7. Here is the Pod mic. And I've probably actually just not got these settings. Let me just go and change these around. This will sound very different because I've not added my profile to this. I've not even recorded anything with this setup yet. So what I need to do is I'm going to just go and apply. This one, there we go. That's the one. Yeah, I need to actually go in and update the settings for this. But basically, this is the pod mic, and this is the Shure. The Shure does sound different at the moment. Let me just check which one I've got, what preset I've got for that. Because for me, they sound pretty similar. They don't at the moment, as I say, because I've not I've not added my my setups to this. Let me clear this off a minute. Bad time to do this. That's the other one, I think. Or is it that one? That's the one. And now if I go to this one and apply that, that is so this is the yeah, I need to dial in the settings because I did have them pretty much the same. But this is the PodMic USB. This is the Shure. At the moment, the Shure is sounding a little bit sort of richer and warmer. But honestly, once I went through and adjusted all the settings and got them how I wanted them, they sound pretty similar. Back to the PodMic. Here's the Shure. Back to the PodMic. Here's the Shure. And it's like when you listen to them side by side, yes, you can certainly tell. But if I came on and I just did the whole thing on this, so now I'm talking on the pod mic, side by side, yes, there is a difference. But really, when you are, when you are doing this sort of stuff as I'm doing, although I've got the channel, but for, in meetings and things like that, or for course content, do those little minor nuances make a huge amount of difference. I think there is a point where you get marginal gains out of it. So I went back to the Shure to answer your question just because of moving stuff around. I actually do prefer the look of this one. I'll say that, purely aesthetically. They are very similar in that they've both got USB and XLR. The reason why I bought the Shure originally was because it had that dual XLR USB connectivity. So as you saw in that first picture over here, that was just plugged in over USB. There was no Rodecaster on my desk, but when I started out, I figured that at some point I might be adding that in, and so I wanted a mic that would grow with me, and so I then added the Rodecaster into the mix. There is another company, FieldWorld, who are sending me another dual mic for review, and I'm interested to try that. People offer to send me stuff all the time, actually, but a lot of it I just kind of reject because I'm not interested in testing it. But the thing about the pod mic versus the Shure, they're very similar. They've got this dual connectivity. One of the things that I like about the pod mic from a USB point of view is that if you're using it on USB, not over XLR, then it's got much better onboard processing than the Shure has. So the Shure's got the Shure Motive app where you can change things like compression to a point and a few other things. But the pod mic has got, it's the main thing that I think sets it apart is it's also got a noise gate built into it. So the noise gate is the thing that when you stop speaking, the volume drops and your audio goes down in the background. So for me, when I stop speaking, I don't want you to hear the air conditioning sound in the background, and so if I was using this over USB, it's got that built into it. The other thing about these two is this one's $250, this one's $200 thereabouts, give or take a cent or two, and so the price point. So if somebody was asking me just right off the bat, I want a mic and I'm looking for a dual USB XLR mic, which one would you recommend? I would say, well, sound, you need to try them anyway to see which one sounds best with your voice, but the audio processing is better on this one in terms of that on USB, and also it's 20% cheaper than this one, lower cost. So and by the way, there's no difference in quality. The build quality of them is, both of them are really, really rock solid. In fact, this one's quite a bit heavier actually. I don't know if that's the yoke or where the weight is coming from, but yeah, this one is certainly heavier, and I do kind of like the look of it. The FieldWorld microphone, which I say I will be reviewing shortly, that is at a much lower price point. So I forget exactly. I think it's $60, $80, $100, $60, I think, something like that. So I'm interested to see what that sounds like so that, we can have a 3 mic comparison of these XLR and USB ones. I'll stick with this one for the rest of the session though. So that is why. No real reason. I just switched because of... I was adding an extra mic into the mix, and so I just switched them around like that. That one we've got to, the video. Hey, Eric, great to see you here. Let's my camera setup in this studio. Yeah, so sure. I've got a in here. I've got a Sony ZV-E10 for those in the UK. That's what's behind here. I'm using the Sigma 30mm lens. So everyone talks about this combination. The ZV-E10 and the Sigma 16 is like this, ideal creator combination. It's like, well, it's fine, but the Sigma 16 is, a particular field of view, and so if that field of view is too wide or you don't want that, then that's not going to be the one for you. So I went with the 30 because I preferred it. First of all, the 30mm is going to give you a more natural crop rather than the wide angle is. Like if you imagine, real estate agents love taking these fisheye lens views of rooms where partly to be able to capture everything in the room, but also it, kind of fools you into thinking something's bigger than it is. Well, I don't want people being fooled into thinking my face is bigger than it is. I'd rather something that makes it smaller, if anything. So, but the 30mm gives a sort of more natural look rather than the 30 gives a more natural view than the 16. But also for me, the 16mm would have just been too wide. I actually wanted this crop of this space here rather than being any wider than that. So that's why I went with the 30mm. Also, my camera is like it's 2 arms lengths away between me and the lens is 2 arms lengths away. The Sigma 16 is great if you've literally got it right in front of you on the desk. Then that wide angle really then is useful because it captures everything. So that's what I'm using for my primary camera. Then we've got, if I just move this one back, up here is a Sony ZV-1, ZV-1. So that is that's got a built-in lens with a zoom, whatever. That's what I'm using for my top-down camera. That's on the AVerMedia livestream arm, which is a great arm, by the way. I've just mounted it kind of behind my my monitor, and that's a great arm because it can be either a low-profile arm. So this one that this mic is on is the Elgato Wave LP, the low profile arm. So you see it sort of slung down here. While this other microphone is on the Elgato Wave arm, which is more kind of like a traditional sort of boom arm. What I love about the AVerMedia one, although I've now ended up using it for my camera rather than a mic, is you can make it either over the top or a low profile arm. But anyway, that is what that camera is. I've then got over here, on top of this monitor, that is one of the OBSBot tail airs. I've got another one of those, which is over here. So that one up there. So that camera, which is just up on top of one of my acoustic panels, that's basically this one. So that's up on top of that acoustic panel. And then I've got another one of those over on the other side. So that one that you're kind of looking at here, the one that you're actually looking at me through, that is another one of those OBSBot tail airs. So I've got 3 tail airs, the ZV-E10 and also the ZV-1 directly above me. So that is my current camera setup. And full disclosure, the OBSBot sent me the tail airs for review, and I was really interested to test those because one of my coaching clients does a lot of sports coaching and was looking for something to use like in his facility to demonstrate things, and the AI tracking that they've got on the tail airs is great, and the quality's great as well for also for low light. You're very welcome, Calvin. So I think I'm doing this thing of catching up with the comments after they've gone. But yes, basically the full screen video has audio, but you can do the switch around like I showed there. Hello there, great to see you in the chat again. Is it possible to share hosting co-host in Ecamm when both participants are remote? I'm looking for equal experience of screen sharing by 2 remote participants. You can't share the control of Ecamm when you are remote, so you can't have one person control the scenes and things like that. It does have to be local to wherever whoever's controlling in Ecamm in interview mode. What you can do though is you can set up screen sharing so that you've got, you could have a scene with, you and your guest sharing your content versus you and your guest sharing their content. And the way that you do that is in the interview mode. When somebody joins your interview, there is a little button that says share screen. And when they share screen, that will just come as another feed into your Ecamm. And so what you can do is you can set up a scene with a placeholder for you and guest one being that other person. But you could also create a scene that's basically you and guest one, and then guest two you would make as a 16:9. And you basically assign their screen share to the position of guest two. And so that's how you would do that. I've got a video about that as well on my my channel, which is how to how to allow guests to share their presentations in Ecamm. But it's not really co-hosting. It is, it's still got to be controlled on the other side. I think this is something that's been a common request that they may well be looking into, is to how to allow for folks to have some sort of remote production, because and remote production as in controlling somebody else's version of Ecamm. Obviously, remote production, anybody could be running the Ecamm and just have be in control. If that makes sense. I feel like I'm minting my words there. Like, for example, The Flow, which is the Ecamm podcast with Katie and Doc, but it's actually Lewis, Mr. Camera Junkie. He actually is the remote producer, although he's not on camera. He's the remote producer. By the way, we, the Creators Pod, me and my Keely and Rich and a few others were on the Creators Pod, were on the Flow podcast. And then when we came into that, as guests, Mr. Camera Junkie was there to greet us, make sure everything was all right, and it was quite an interesting guest experience. That you go into a green room, but there's someone actually there to deal with you, and then you go on to the actual event afterwards. I thought it was just a nice experience. That was. In Kajabi, is it possible to reuse videos in different courses? Is the user able to recognize and thus skip those already watched ones? Yeah. Unfortunately, not. You can't sort of have it that it registers that they've watched them. No, is the answer. Is the answer to that. So it would just be a case of making them aware of that. One of the things that I'm doing this year is creating like a taster course, basically a free course. The only way to do that in Kajabi, if you want to be able to give somebody access to say, oh, you can get the first few modules for free for 30 days or for, indefinitely, but then you go on to the paid course. The only way that I figured how to do that is that basically you have to create two course products. One is the free one, which goes up to a point and maybe has all the rest of the modules, but just no videos, and saying, sign up to get the rest of the course. But then basically what happens is they're just clicking to buy, and they're buying a second product, which and then you can have it automate that it removes access to the first product and grants access to the second one. The paid one, where they've got all of that first modules in and the rest of it as well. The only problem is that it has exactly this issue that I can't show that they've watched that beginning stage. They would have to go through that again. So I really love Kajabi. Like, all in all, it's the best solution that I think there is for what I'm trying to do. But that's not to say it's perfect. There is, I'm constantly putting in feature requests. One feature request. This is something that I kind of just think is a real lost opportunity. You may be aware that Kajabi gave people the option to create their own custom app, and it's actually. I don't want to use the word expensive, because people say that Kajabi is expensive, but if you're actually selling content and you're running your business off Kajabi, then actually it's a really cost-effective solution. But when they announced that they had the ability for Kajabi, people on Kajabi to create their own custom apps, and it's basically $200 a month. Additionally, on top of your Kajabi, but you would have a custom branded, your own branded app, and all of the maintenance that goes on with that and everything. And I thought, not really sure about that. Well, just the other day, I thought that might be something I'm going to go ahead with, because I'm thinking about how to do something a little bit more integral with all my courses, my content, my community, and everything. And I thought, well, if that could just all be in one nice app, that would be great. The only problem is, It's iPhone only, or at least it's no. Let me rephrase that. It's mobile phone, like iPhone and Android. It's available on the iPad, but the iPad is just literally, it's one of those scaled versions of the iPhone app, and that's the same for all of the Kajabi apps, incidentally, as well. And I just think that's a real shame that. There isn't an iPad native, because although technically, if you're on iPad and then you watch a video, it does become full screen. It's not really a great user experience to have, not have your entire course ecosystem and community and everything all just wrapped up in a nice, iPad tablet size thing, which is a great, place to learn really on a tablet. So, I was disappointed about that, and no imminent plans to add that. So that was okay. Well, I'll forget using their app service then. But I added it as a feature request. So all of that to say is no, but definitely add it as a feature request. There is a place where you can go to put your feature requests, and I've got it right at the top of my email, because it was the response I got where they said, yeah, that's not possible. You might want to go to this page to add it. It's just ideas.kajabi.com is the product thing. Here you go. I'll just drop this in the chat. So if we both go and add that in as a feature request, that might help. So let me see where we're up to. Yeah, there we go. There's always a workaround for these things. Oh, Chris. So I mentioned earlier that there was a comment that came through about a Stream Deck copy, and the comment disappeared or something. And I'm glad you've put this up, because I didn't catch. I saw the comment before I sort of got myself all ready to start streaming, and the comment disappeared. But it was called the Ajaz AKP 153. Well, it kind of rhymes. I was going to say it's not very catchy, but it kind of rhymes. And it's from Ajaz. Nice brand name. And let's just get this up, because I hadn't actually heard of this. And to say that it's a Stream Deck alternative, it looks kind of familiar from a design point of view. And what it's got is it's got 15 keys, and then it's got this little screen at the side which has got some other information. But it looks very very similar to the Stream Deck XL sort of styling in a 15 key format. And really, this is similar to the issue that I had with the Loop Deck, was the software. What I'd need to see with this is what's the software like about it, and also it's going to have to be pretty robust to be an alternative to the Stream Deck, to take over where I've my whole my personal ecosystem, productivity and all, is built around the plugins that are available for the Stream Deck. So at this point, it's kind of tricky for somebody to come in and, when you've got an incumbent like in this space, like Elgato, to be an alternative to that. Now, I get that the price is lower, so $80 versus whatever a Stream Deck, regular Stream Deck is these days. What is a regular Stream Deck these days? I think it's about 150, isn't it? We'll find out. I forget exactly, but Stream Deck Mark II, where is it? So 149. So okay, you could say, well, this is kind of like half the price, thereabouts, or just over half the price. So I can see that there is a potential appeal to it. But really, for me, it would come down to what are the plugins and so on and available for it. And I've got to say, this would be something that there are things that I would quite happily go out and buy to try, because I think, well, maybe this is a better alternative for me to add into my workflow. But because of the level that I've got in my ecosystem, it's probably not something that I would even buy. It is something that if they were to contact me and say, is this something that you'd like to review? It's the sort of thing that I'd say, well, I'll definitely review it, because it's, similar to Stream Deck. So it gives me that, what should we call it? The breadth of content on the channel to say that there are these alternatives available, but it's just not something that I would bother even try myself without learning more about it and understanding what the plugins that were available for it are. But what I will do is I'll definitely take more of a look after this, in terms of what other people have said about it and reviewed it. But it would have to be really compelling for me to potentially yeah, it'd have to be really compelling for me to potentially think of, switching it out. I mean, even the loop deck, I persevered with that for as long as I could until Stream Deck introduced dials, and then I switched it out. Is there a benefit for a Rodecaster Duo for making YouTube videos, or is it beneficial for streaming content? I already have an XLR audio input in my camera. It's not a necessary thing for creating content. It's not even a necessary thing for live streaming. I will show you again. This is my my setup. The majority of my videos last year, I only really did my weekly live stream. So I wasn't making regular video content last year as I was in certainly the first year and year and a half. And all of that content was made with a USB mic, this MV7, and the Stream Deck I was using because all of my videos are made in one take with no edits. And so I'm just using Ecamm Live to switch my scenes live in all of my videos. Now, it sounds like you've got an XLR input, so you've got an XLR mic going into your camera, and then that's coming into your either you're recording locally on your camera and bringing your videos in that way, or maybe you're bringing them direct into your computer and recording on the computer. So in theory, then you've got your mic going in. So what is then the point of a Rodecaster? Well, first of all, it potentially allows you to add some audio processing, so things like compression, which just basically evens out the higher and lower volumes, excuse me, of your voice. The noise gate, which potentially stops any unwanted noise coming through when you don't want it. Other different things, the de-esser and so on. So you can apply effects with the Rodecaster, but you can do all those in software as well. So you could have live audio going into your computer. And I used to use a program on my Mac called Audio Hijack, which I would apply those kind of effects using that. There are other post-production methods that you can use to adjust your audio that way as well. The real power for me in the Rodecaster is its audio routing capabilities. I love the audio processing as well, but the audio routing is for me the key thing. And that allows me to route audio from Ecamm into my Zoom calls, Zoom into Ecamm, Discord. So like now I've got my Discord going and the audio's being routed through there as well. So it's that sort of stuff that I see as the real advantage of the Rodecaster. Some people use the Rodecaster as well, like the sound pads, where they want to sort of trigger sound effects and things like that. You'll notice I don't really have a load of sound effects. So if I just hit on this one.
Uh-oh. I did something stupid.
There we go. That's Doc Rock coming through there. So, I mean, you can use sound pads for things like that. But, and you might want to have it like on my podcast, for example, I do have my intro music. So I hit a button, it starts playing my intro music. And then, I will sort of fade that out as we start talking and get into the intro. So for that point of view, it has a use. It's definitely not an essential bit of gear, though. So don't think that, I'll definitely need this if I'm going to be creating videos or even live streaming. As I said, the majority of live streams on my channel, I didn't have a mixer at all. I love it, and it's a great bit of tech, but it's definitely not on the essential list. Essential list for me is if you've got a good camera, you've got a good mic, and Stream Deck is just an ultimate productivity tool, whether or not you're recording videos or not. So the basics is anything above that is a nice to have, essentially. Good lighting, good camera, and a way to capture your mic. And as long as you're happy with the audio of it, it doesn't need to be this thing of needing to add in all of these things. I've got a good excuse to fuel my tech nerdery, which is that I've got a channel about tech, so I kind of get to justify it to myself a little bit that way when there is something that I want to add in. And by the way, the Rode Pod mic, Rode sent me that when they had a load of new products that they announced all at the same time, the Pod mic, the Streamer X, and the Rodecaster Duo, and they sent me them all for review. And so other than that, I would still probably have been on my Shure MV7 because I saw no need to change it. But now that I've tried this, I think that this sounds great as well. Have you ever considered a boom mic? If so, why don't you use that? I have considered a boom mic, actually, and this was one of these things where I watched a load of reviews about a load of them. I eventually came down on the Sennheiser MKH50. I think. I can't remember. It was that long ago. I watched basically the one that Tom Buck recommends. He's always my go-to for audio stuff, even though I watch all this stuff and then never buy any of it because, as I say, I'm pretty much happy with my this setup. I did consider that because that gives you a microphone that's out of shot. This one obviously could be out of shot. I could move it over here, but you lose the audio quality. What a boom mic gives you is something that's out of shot and potentially, better quality than that. So it's still not going to be as crisp and clear as something that is in close proximity. That's just physics at the end of the day. But ultimately, I didn't go with that because I ended up just using a lav mic, and so my thing for when I don't want to when I want something a bit more discreet is just to use a lav mic. But I just wasn't that bothered about having the mic in shot, so that is why I didn't go with that. The Rode Lav also has a very simple overhead wire clip that works really well. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. The actual. I guess. Sorry, it's this thing of catching up with the thing. But yeah, the little clip for the Rode Lav is really really simple to use. I guess that's what you're referring to there. So yeah. How can I create a shortcut to the default Mac text replacement section in system preferences? Oh, now that's interesting. Yeah, because you can create shortcuts to things, but I don't know about, can you create a shortcut to a specific window in here? I don't know that you can actually. You can create keyboard shortcuts to all sorts of things, but not necessarily that. Actually, yeah, you totally could. No, I think about it. In your system here, so this is where system preferences is, system settings as it's called now. You've got the view menu, and the view has all of the different sections. So what you could do, and that would be in, where would that be in? Keyboard, isn't it? Okay, well, yeah, you can't actually get to these ones. Text replacement. Yeah, you can't actually get to that. But what you could do is you could use Keyboard Maestro is an application that you could use to activate a specific menu item. And so you could have Keyboard Maestro open system settings, number one, and then activate a menu command here. So you would just activate this one. So the best that I could get to would be one button to automate opening up your accessibility thing here. But yeah, it's not getting to where you want. There is actually, though, a better tool for you creating custom shortcuts. And I was just going to say, I wonder what it's called. It's actually called Custom Shortcuts. And I did a video about this, but it's a free app, and it's actually a little bit easier to make them. But yeah, sorry, you're not looking for shortcuts. You're doing the text replacement. Oh, forget that. Forget that. I was going to give you a way to make a shortcut, but that's not what you're asking. Yeah, text replacement. No, I don't know a way to get there directly. Although I use Text Expander anyway, but that's just another app. But so there we go. Can I use several memes when I stream, and when I change scenes, all of the memes I use activate? I use several memes when I stream, and when I change scenes, all of these. I'm not quite sure how that's implemented or what exactly you're talking about, honestly. If you mean you've got things on screen that are connected to screens, to specific scenes, if you're talking about Ecamm, then with overlays, when you switch from one scene to another, you can have it that, like, I've got one that is, let's see, like I've got one that when I go to this screen here in particular, it will pop out my little intro thing, and I use this like when I'm on doing a workshop or something. So if I go to this other scene, which basically looks exactly the same as this one, but if I go to it, that automatically pops out, and that's because it's an overlay that's in that scene that is animated. So if you're talking about in Ecamm, that could be what you're talking about, but I might be completely missing the point there. If you mean some sort of animation, then the thing to do would be to either put them in different things, different scenes, or if you've got it as an animation, and again, I'm just guessing that you're talking about even in, might not even be talking about this, but if you are talking about in Ecamm in particular, then let me just share my screen a minute. As I say, you may not be talking about Ecamm, but I'll just demonstrate in this one in any case. So if you've got like this thing that pops out, like my name thing, for example, and I can click in this button here. No, I beg your pardon. I can click on the little drop down here. Wait a minute, my scene's locked. Sorry, I'm going to things if I can tell it. I can hit the little down arrow there. And so you can just turn off the autoplay. So if you've got something that's an animated overlay in Ecamm and you don't want it to autoplay, you can switch that off. And that would mean that when I go into that scene, it's not just going to automatically play. I would have to actually trigger it in that instance. So you can turn that off from there. But again, this is the problem with live streaming. It's great, but you always end up talking for 10 minutes and then realizing you've completely missed the point of the issue that somebody was trying to talk about. So I'll just take that out of that mode for a second. Let me just take that one off screen, and I will just lock this scene before I make any more mistakes. Now, I am going to have to wrap up in 10 minutes because I do have to be somewhere in 10 minutes. But if I just keep going through and see where we're up to. Yeah, you're having the Keely having the same same thing. Is that oh, that would be another thing as well. Although show in all scenes, yeah, it shouldn't trigger those then when they are when you're switching into that scene. It shouldn't trigger them all just because you've switched scene. But yeah, it certainly could be that you've put them in there, and so if you've got one button to trigger them, then that could be why as well. I don't know if what I've said is that then solve this. You have them as media sources, and they are only one scene. They are not animated. They're mostly sounds. Oh, sorry, sounds. All right. Well, sounds then, if you've actually dragged them into a physical scene, then yeah, every time you go into that scene, it will play that sound. That's how sounds work in a scene in Ecamm. So if you've got the audio in the sound levels in the sound effects window, and you've literally dragged that over into this scene, then that will just play automatically when you do that. So what you would want to do is rather than have it in the scene itself, just leave it in the sound effects window, and then like on a Stream Deck, have a button to play that sound effect. So what I mean by that, I'm so good at just waffling on talking about something when it would be easier to just actually show it. Right, so if I do this, I will share my screen. So here I've got these different things that I can play, like this music, and I can drag that into this scene. So once again, my scene is locked. That's great. If I drag that into this scene, now it's going to play. And now if I switch to a different scene, and then I switch back, the audio is still playing in there. So hang on a minute, I've now started it somewhere else. Yeah, so that will play basically every time I go into this scene. But if you just don't have it in the scene itself, but rather go into your Stream Deck, and in Stream Deck, if we just come into here, and I'll go into my Ecamm, then in Ecamm you've got a play sound, and you can drag that in, and then you can choose a sound effect from your full list. So you could just have that assigned to a button, and then when you press the button, it will just play that sound like that. So that is, yeah, that's how I would do that, if that has answered the question. There we go. Right, let me just see if I've got more here, because as I say, I've got a hard out. Uscreen, an alternative. Uscreen, yeah. So if somebody's looking for course hosting, then Uscreen is a platform that allows you to build out courses and community and stuff like that. Again, it's not one that I've used myself, but that is definitely another option. Keyboard Maestro doesn't work on virtual desktops, as in remote, though you can, if you've got Keyboard Maestro open on 2 computers, you can actually use the Keyboard Maestro server to trigger actions on one from another, but you need to have it on both computers. You're very welcome. I'm glad you found it useful. Let's see. Yeah, the Sennheiser, because when I was looking, I basically just thought, right, well, rather than me go through the process of having all the buyer's remorse of buying all the ones that then don't work, this is the boom mic that we're talking about, the shotgun mic. Yeah, it was like $900, $1,000 or something like that. But and that's another reason why I thought, you know what, I'm not going to add $1,000 worth of value to my content by buying that microphone. So I want to be able to launch my work setup inside virtual desktop for work. So ideally, I get what you're saying. You mean a virtual machine instance to press a button on Stream Deck and have all the windows open in the right place, but inside Citrix. I get you. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it works over that. I briefly had a virtual, using Parallels or whatever, had that running on my Mac, and I had to have basically a separate instance of like Stream Deck running on that, and it was all a bit of a mess. So no, I never found a way to get that. The lavalier headset mount. All right, okay. I'm not sure about that one. I'm not unless you're talking about this with but no, you're talking about the lav headset. I'm not sure about that. I'll have to look into that one. The MKH50, yeah, that was the one that I was thinking about. This is literally what I'm working on this week, so it will be done imminently in the next couple of days. Oh, the 416, yeah, that's a good one. I've got literally 4 minutes left now. So, did you mention you have a Discord? I don't see the link in your description. Yeah, it's basically you get in through my website, so takeonetech.io/family. So that is the way that you get into there. Rich has already dropped it in. And for mobile, missing the context of that. Okie dokie. Well, with that, it does look like I've got to the end of the list. So this has been a bit of a long one, but thank you all for stopping by. For those that are watching on the replay, do feel free to drop into the Discord or drop any comments down below. Discord is definitely the place for comments and questions, though, because the YouTube comments just become a bit overwhelming, a bit of a fire hose at the best of times. So yeah, definitely the Discord is the place for those comments. Okie dokie, thanks for watching, and I'll probably do another one of these Q&As at some point in the future as well, so for just general stuff. But thanks for being here. Thanks also to my channel members. I really appreciate your support. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a wonderful day.